Yo, yo, yo. Today we're talking about the state of the heavyweight division in MMA, but also in the UFC. I will be using the UFC as an example because that's just what a lot of people know. But let's just dive into it. We used to have guys that look like this fighting in the UFC, right? Big, strong, muscular, low body fat, juicy motherfuckers. We knew that these guys were juicing, right? That was not a secret. That's still not a secret. We knew what these guys were doing, and we were fine with it. We were fine with it because these guys were entertaining. They had a lot of knockout power. They also got knocked out easier. So the knockouts were there. It was crazy. You looked at them, you got hyped, like, oh, look at this. Look at this, for example, right? If you looked at this heavyweight face-off between these two guys, you would just be instantly hyped, like, oh shit, what's gonna happen here? Who's gonna get knocked out and whatnot, right? And if you look at these guys, these guys, there is no hype there, bro. It's more of a meme. A lot of people were hyped for this fight just purely because of the meme of how bad these guys looked and how bad these guys are in their skill set, especially Chris Barnett. He is just a meme just because of it. He's just a fat guy that throws spinning heel kicks, and that's all he honestly can do. And that's what people know. And it's funny, sure, but honestly it's more sad to me than it is funny. Because we used to, like I said, we used to have guys like this and we would get hyped. But now you just look at the heavyweight division and you're not interested in the division, really. You have Tom Aspinall, who's a very interesting fighter and a athletic specimen. Cyril Gane, also Sergey Pavlovich, I would say. Almeida, but he's not even that entertaining. But overall, these guys just don't look good, bro. And if you look at the rankings back in 2013, you can see that the sport, or in the heavyweight division overall at least, is going back in quality. We used to have guys like Cain Velasquez, who, although he was not like crazy in shape, his cardio was insane. There's no one in the UFC heavyweight divisions now, or MMA heavyweight divisions, that had his cardio back in the day. Junior Dos Santos looked insane. Verdum looked very good. Cormier was a beast. Antonio Silva in his prime days was also a beast. Travis Brown, huge, strong, on roids. Alistair Overeem, I don't even have to say anything about him. Josh Barnett, big, also juiced, by the way. Mark Hunt, yes, he was a fat guy, right? Yes, he was. But he was the OG Tai Tuivasa type, where he had a granite chin. He went in there, he fought, he was very entertaining. He was kill or be killed. Very, very good. And at some point, he even got to a interim championship. This guy, you cannot compare him to the blobs we have right now. Mark Hunt is and was a legend. But now the question is, right, why is the UFC or MMA heavyweight divisions overall, why are they so bad? And it's pretty simple, and it all comes down to fighter pay. If you think about it, right, there's not a lot of people, let's say in the US, we'll take them as an example. There's not a lot of people in the US that are 6'1", 6'2", or taller, right? Let's say a few percent are taller than 6'1", 6'2", which is typical for a heavyweight, right? And these guys, they look at the sports they can choose from. NBA, NFL, baseball, whatever sports there are. Like football, soccer, They can look at, okay, I need to be tall for these certain sports. You can also do it in boxing, for example, by the way, but also in MMA. But how many of these guys will choose MMA? Not many, because it pays the worst. Like, it seems crazy. You have to learn the ground game. You have to learn the striking, like small gloves, elbows, and everything. It just seems a bit scarier than the other sports, right? Even scarier than boxing. And money-wise, it doesn't pay even half of the half that they would get paid in the NFL or the NBA. So why would they choose MMA? There's no real big reason, right? So they go into NFL first, into NBA first, into these other sports first, and if they fail there, then sure, they can look into the side of the UFC, right? That's what a lot of these guys did. Greg Hardy did it. There's also this other guy that did it that is in the UFC right now. Even Waldo Cortes Acosta is number 6 right now. He was a baseball player at first, but they're basically, I don't want to say sound harsh, but they're basically the rejects of the big leagues of the sport they wanted to do in the first place. That didn't happen, so they go into MMA, mixed martial arts. So you don't get the best, you don't get the smartest, you don't get the guys that have the best motivation or that have the best mindset or have the best physicality. We don't get those guys. We get the second, third, fourth tier of heavyweights. At least most of them, right? Maybe Tom Aspinall, he could probably do a different sport. Cyril Gane could probably do a different sport. So there is a few guys that could do other sports, but they still chose to do MMA. Sure. But overall, that is not the case, which is why we don't have the best of the best fighting, or not the best talents fighting, not the guys with the best mindset fighting. They all go to different sports. So this is why we get not the best. Basically, that's what I said 10 times. But that is one of the reasons. And like I said, there's many examples of this. Greg Hardy is one of these examples. Cyril Gane, I think he wanted to do different sports. He also did Muay Thai, but that doesn't pay well either. So MMA is often a sport that is just a second, third, fourth choice. Even Francis Ngannou, he wanted to do boxing first. John Jones, I think he did other sports as well. His brothers did go into the NFL. So a lot of these guys, especially in heavier divisions, they did other sports before they got into the UFC. Also, Josh Hockett, he just got same thing, NFL player that turned into MMA. A lot of these wrestlers, same thing. MMA is not the sport that ranks first when these guys choose a sport in the beginning. So, like I said, this is why we don't get the best of the best. And that all comes down to fighter pay. So the thing is, if MMA pays more, we can get the best athletes, and that will result into the sport getting much bigger, right? Because the other sports get smaller because of it, and then our sport gets better because of it as well. So these guys need to pay more, pay these fighters more in all the divisions, and this way we can grow as a sport, and then everyone can make much more money, bro. Dana White has to invest in the sport, and so do all these other promotions. So do all these other promoters. And I think that that's the point of this video. We need to get better pay so we can get guys like this without the juice to get into MMA, to get into the UFC, to make the sport much bigger than it already is, make it a sport just as big as the NFL, just as big as the NBA, and that way we will get the best of the best watching, or fighters fighting. We will have better fighters to watch. They get paid better. We don't feel as bad when they get put into oblivion, and everyone's happy. So thank you guys. We do not want these blobs fighting in the UFC anymore. Like, subscribe. I hope this was an okay video. I feel like I yapped a bit of bullshit, but is what it is. I'm still learning. Thank you for watching. Let's go for that.